Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing a Chicago Bears mock draft January edition. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Like this video if you enjoy it. Comment all your thoughts and opinions down below. Help me reach my goal of 850 subscribers by the end of January, or I'm sorry, by the end of February. Meant to say February. We are closing in on the end of January. We are about 45 subscribers away, so help me hit that goal. If you're a Bears fan, help a fellow Bears fan out. Cost you absolutely nothing to subscribe. But either way, let's get into today's video. So, with the number one overall pick, I have the Chicago Bears trading it to the end division rivals, the Detroit Lions. The Bears will get the 6th pick, the 18th pick, the 48th pick, and the 55th pick, as well as a 2024 first-round pick from Detroit. First-round pick from Detroit, just so that way you know what I'm thinking. I'm going to guess it's late teens next year, maybe early 20s, but I don't think anything past that, so I'm thinking late teens, and I think that's worth it. Another pick around 18. So you get 3 first-round picks in total. 2 this year, 1 next year. 2 second-round picks in order to move down, in which the Lions drafted Jalen Carter, the Bears at number 6. So you don't have Jalen Carter on the board. You don't have Will Anderson. You guess who my next pick is? It is Tyreke Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech. Really, I mean, just an athletic freak. 6'6", 245 pounds, an edge rusher, has been absolutely lights out against with Texas Tech against the Big 12 this year. Has lit it up and has really started to rise up draft boards throughout this cycle. I think that this could be really important to, maybe you can get a guy that, I think, to be honest, my personal draft board, I like Myles Murphy better than Will Anderson, just because he fits the 4-3 scheme a lot better than Will Anderson does, and Myles Murphy has been just as productive. And I think Tyreke Wilson is going to be on that level of Will Anderson, because I think Wilson fits the scheme, again, of a 4-3 defense better than Will Anderson does. Will Anderson is a lot more of Big Fangio, a 3-4 scheme, playing outside linebacker, sometimes drops in. He's not a pure edge rusher in a 4-3 scheme, gonna always put his hand in the dirt and stuff like that. He likes to more line up, no hand in the dirt, just straight edge. And it's not that you can't do that, but I don't think that's the best solution. Either way, I will get off my soapbox. Heading to pick number 18, in which I traded that pick and as well as pick number 197 to the Buffalo Bills for pick number 27 and pick number 59. So I dropped back 9 spots, pick up a second-round pick once again. So now I have a grand total of 4 second-round picks. So I'm really happy with that. You still have your 2 first-round picks. Plus, there was not anybody available that I was like, ooh, I think I have to get him. There were a lot of players that I liked, but not one that I'm like, oh, he's not going to be there 9 picks later. And exactly who I was going to probably pick at pick 18 if I did not trade was still there. Bryan Bresee, the defensive tackle out of Clemson, is who I selected. Another great part of that defensive line at Clemson. Bresee has played injured the past 2 years, tore his ACL last year, missed almost all of it, played, I think, 4 games. I think it was. He played a little bit of the NC State game, but that's when he stopped. And this season, obviously, if you know anything about Clemson, Bryan Bresee's sister, Ella, passed away. Definitely a very tragic story. And he did not really have the greatest of seasons after her passing. Did kind of struggle injury-wise to have all that. But really is a great player, can fill up that gap. That way, since you don't get Jalen Carter, I think Bryan Bresee is probably the next best option. If you have another pick, who do you think it is? Who's the second best defensive tackle in this class outside of Jalen Carter? So, Going on to pick number 48, number one of my second round picks is John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Minnesota. I really do like Schmitz. I think that he is a good overall player. I think that this is a position that the Bears really need to address in center. I think that is one of the more important positions that the Bears are going to address this offseason. If you are not able to get a center in free agency, I think it's really important that you get a center during the draft. And I really don't think that there are any two high-level centers in the upcoming free agent class. So I took John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Minnesota. At number 53, I took Andre Carter II, the edge rusher out of Army. And if you've watched any of my previous Chicago Bears mock drafts, I've taken him before. Actually, like him as a player. Obviously, very high-quality character. Will go into the Army after his time in the NFL is done. So, obviously, really like that already about him. Think that he's a very high-quality guy, wanting to serve his country and stuff like that. I think that that really adds to it. Plus, in 2021, he was an absolute dynamic player, 15 and a half sacks. I think that this pick really does allow you to pick up two edge rushers in this class, both that can be starters this year. Starters. One in the first round, one in the second round. And I think if you get those two guys, and Brian Bresee, and maybe you have Justin Jones, maybe you pick up a Daron Payne in free agency, you have a really solidified defensive line there, and you have just used up three of your picks. So, moving on to the defense once again, with pick number 55, I have the Bears selecting Eli Ricks, the cornerback out of Alabama. Really, really like this pick. Really find it interesting. So the Bears obviously drafted Kyler Gordon last year with their first of the 2 second-round picks that they did have. Think that Ricks is a good player, but here's where I really like it. You have Jalen Johnson, you have Eddie Jackson, you have Jaquan Brisker, and you have Kyler Gordon. I don't know where Gordon's going to play. I don't know whether you play him at CB2, whether you play him at nickel. I would personally rather have him at the nickel position. I think that he can fill that role. If he plays CB2, I really don't care if he plays that outside cornerback. But then now yet you have Eli Ricks. You have really started to mold a defense that outside of the linebacker position, which I'll talk about in a second, you have really started to throw darts at the board and hoping that, well, you have a decently strong secondary that played well last year, even though the defense didn't get any pressure whatsoever. So I think that that is a good overall thing. At pick number 59, I go back to addressing the offense and one of the bigger needs on this team. Getting wide receiver Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. One of the better wide receivers in this draft, had a really great 2021, was actually going to be Tennessee's number one wide receiver this year, but ended up getting injured a little bit, and Jalen Hyatt ended up getting most of the big-time press and stuff like that. Really underrated player. Really could see him rise up draft boards in the next couple of weeks, or I should say months, really, because we're in the end of January, but really the next couple of months as we get it. I think that this is a guy that is just a baller. So, at pick number 64, I have the Bears selecting Owen Papoa. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if that's wrong, but the linebacker out of Auburn. The reason for picking Papoa was that linebacker is a need. You have Jack Sanborn, obviously played pretty well, but A, he's an undrafted free agent. He's not Roquan Smith at the linebacker position. But B, you need another linebacker. If Nicholas Morrow comes back next year, or whoever, if you get a guy out of free agency, you need another guy at linebacker. You truly do. At a minimum, maybe two guys at linebacker. But I think that you could address that. Papoa really stood out to me. Thought he was a high-level player. Could go in the middle of the second round, which is where I kind of think he'll go. But we'll see. I think Papoa is a good pick there. So, at pick 101, had to wait a couple of picks. Pick Xavier Hutchinson, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. Really like Xavier Hutchinson. Really, if you care about PFF grades, if you care about them, he's one of the highest rated wide receivers this year by PFF. But the main reason for liking Hutchinson is that I think he was a steal in this slate of a draft class. I think he, in the 4th round, just really big wide receiver, big body. I think if Claypool doesn't work out, Xavier Hutchinson could be an option, which I think is important to have because, well, maybe Claypool doesn't work out. As a Notre Dame fan, as you can see, I'm a big Notre Dame fan. So Xavier Hutchinson, I think that will work out, and I think you could have him develop, really like his potential as a wide receiver. Pick 132, I'll hurry this up a little bit, but pick 132, Zach Pickens, the defensive tackle out of South Carolina, really just a dynamic player. Has played well throughout South Carolina, especially South Carolina's defense had actually played well all year. Obviously, if you watch any college football, you saw them beat Clemson, you saw them beat Tennessee, you saw them rise up boards. They lost to Notre Dame in the bowl game. Go Irish. But really, Zach Pickens was always a good defensive player, and that was shown throughout that season. South Carolina always had a good defense. It was really the offense in Rattler that, because they came on at the end, they were able to they were able to get wins over 2 top 5 teams. So, I should say top 10 teams. Clemson was the top 5. Either way. Pick 133, Trey Palmer, the wide receiver out of Nebraska. Another guy that is highly rated, has a lot of tools, I think can be a good player. Plus, he is just another depth piece, and you really need it in one of the weakest, if not the weakest, wide receiver core in football. Really is a little bit of a struggle. But at pick 155, I have the Bears. This is my final pick. Carter Warren, the offensive tackle out of Pitt. This is kind of a shot in the dark. The Bears took a lot of them last year. You got Braxton Jones out of it. You had drafted, I think 4 offensive linemen, if I remember. One of them hit, and you got a starting left tackle, and he was average to maybe a little bit below average. But a 5th-round pick being a starting left tackle in the NFL and being average, I'll take that, Charles Leno. But Charles Leno was 7th-round pick, but either way, point being is this, that you need another tackle, and I think even if you sign another tackle like Mike McGlinchey from the Niners this year, I think that it's important to address the position again. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Make sure that you hit the 2 videos down below, help a Bears fan out, and hit that subscribe button up here. But that's all for today's video, and as always, have a great day. Bye, guys.